you're looking to dive into topics on how to live a happier, healthier, more fit, and long lifespan, then you've come to the right podcast. Living the Dream with me, Coach Damian Evans. Together, we will explore the topics on all things health, fitness, and wellness. Together, we will be lifelong learners on this journey to living the ultimate dream. What up, Dream Team? Coach D here coming at you from beautiful, sunny San Diego, and welcome back to the Living the Dream podcast. We're going to conquer the middle of the week here and explore total wellness in order to reach for your goals and live your dream life. Yes, welcome back to Wellness Wednesday, and welcome back to day 3 of this week's theme. This theme this week is live your life like a video game. On Mindset Monday, we talked about how most people get frustrated with life because they're trying to start at level 50 when the real path to success is accepting where you are, starting at level 1 and earning experience points through consistent action. And then yesterday on Training Tuesday, we talked about how to gamify your fitness, turning workouts, habits, and discipline into a game you actually want to play. And today, we're going to be taking things just one step deeper because great players don't just grind levels. They monitor their stats. In video games, there's something called an HUD, a heads-up display. If you're in the business sector, you might have heard this as your dashboard. It's the information panel that shows your character's status while you're playing. So it shows your health, it shows your energy, it shows what armor you have on or what ammo you have, it shows your experience points. It's a heads-up display, a dashboard. And here's the idea for today. Your body and your health has a dashboard too. Your body has a dashboard. Signals, data, feedback, clues about how your system is currently performing. But most people go through life completely ignoring it. They train when they should be recovering. They push when their body is exhausted. I'm talking to me here. They sleep poorly or eat poorly and then wonder why their performance drops. So today we're going to talk about the 5 health stats that you should start paying attention to if you want to level up your health, fitness, and longevity. We're going to talk about the 5 health stats that you should have on your dashboard, your heads-up display. Because the best players, they don't just train hard. They manage their systems better. Why does tracking matter? There's a powerful principle in behavior science that says what gets measured gets managed. Research on something called self-monitoring consistently shows that when people track their behaviors, they dramatically increase their chance of improving them. This thing that has been researched is called self-monitoring, and it dramatically increases our chances of improving whatever we are trying to get with our goals. One well-known study from Kaiser Permanente looked at thousands of people trying to lose weight. The researchers found that participants who kept a simple food journal lost about twice as much weight as those who didn't track their food. Those who tracked lost about twice as much weight as those who didn't track their food intake. Nothing magical changed about the diet of one group to the other. They simply started paying attention. When you measure something here, you start to notice patterns. You start to experiment. You start asking questions like, what habits can improve my score? What things do I do that make my score worse? And suddenly, you're no longer guessing. You're learning from data. And what I love about this is sometimes it illuminates something that I didn't even know was there, right? You don't know what you don't know. So as you start tracking something, you might become more aware that, oh my gosh, I did not realize that this is what a serving of peanut butter looks like. I didn't realize that I'm only getting 2,000 steps a day. I figured I was getting at least 5,000. You're learning from data when you track, and that's exactly how elite athletes train. And it's how you can start improving your health as well. So stat number one here, the 5 stats that we're going to have on our dashboard. Stat number 1 is sleep quality. If your body has a dashboard, the first and most important stat is going to be your sleep. Sleep is the foundation of recovery. It's one of the huge pillars of total wellness that if that is not taken care of, all the other pillars are going to be less because of it. When you sleep, your body repairs tissue. It regulates hormones, it consolidates memory, and it restores your nervous system. But when you sleep and you do not have great quality, when you sleep poor, everything else suffers. Energy drops. Motivation drops. Recovery slows. Fat loss becomes a big challenge. One famous study from the University of Chicago showed something fascinating. This is a study that I love to talk about with people when it comes to sleep. Researchers had participants follow the same calorie-restricted diet, but under 2 different conditions. The 2 groups had the same calorie-restricted diet, but one of the groups slept about 8.5 full hours of that night, while the other group, they slept only 5.5 hours of less sleep. Both groups, they lost weight. They're in a calorie deficit. They're going to lose weight. But the well-rested group, the one that got good sleep, lost significantly more body fat, while the sleep-deprived group lost more lean muscle mass, like muscle. In fact, fat loss in these groups, the one that didn't get sleep, dropped by about 55% when they were sleep restricted. Fat loss dropped 55%. Think about that. Same diet, same calories, completely different results just because of sleep. This is why sleep is one of the first stats that is worth paying attention to. So the second stat here behind sleep is your resting heart rate. Your resting heart rate, the next stat on your dashboard. Your resting heart rate is simply how many times your heart beats per minute when fully relaxed. Generally speaking, a lower resting heart rate indicates better cardiovascular efficiency and endurance and capability in the body. Your heart becomes stronger and more efficient, meaning it can pump more blood with fewer beats. Research has also shown that higher resting heart rates are associated with greater cardiovascular risk, which is the number one killer right now. Over all the other morbidities out there, cardiovascular risk is at the top. In fact, several large population studies have found that every 10 beat increase in resting heart rate, every 10 beats per minute higher, that is associated with a measurable increase in risk for cardiovascular disease and overall mortality. So watching this number over time can really tell you something important about your overall fitness and recovery. Stat number 2 is the resting heart rate. Stat number 3 is your HRV, heart rate variability. Now, this is not completely necessary, but it is a really cool thing to look at if you're going into that next level of tracking. The HRV is your heart rate variability. It's becoming very popular in performance science right now. HRV measures the variation in time between your heartbeats. That might sound strange at first, but a healthy nervous system actually produces more variability, not less. So when your heart beats, it doesn't beat the same all the time. There's different time in between each one. And the more variability in those beats, usually they say the healthier the nervous system is. With a high HRV, it usually means your nervous system is adaptable and recovered. When it's a low HRV, when there's not very much variability in between the beats, that often means that your system is under stress. That stress could come from things like poor sleep for sure, hard training, like things like psychological stress, alcohol, illness in yourself or in the family, health issues. Athletes, military operators, and high performance athletes, they often track their HRV to determine how they should push on any given day. So coaches will look at a athlete's HRV and they'll say like, oh man, that dropped like 20 points from one day to the next. We're going to definitely not do this high intensity workout. We're going to have to shift gears and do something more restorative. It's essentially a window into the nervous system if you can really get a good read on that. My experience with the Oura Ring is really important here. So this is one of the reasons why I've been tracking my sleep and my recovery with an Oura Ring for over a decade now. Like since the very first Oura Ring was released, I was first on the list pre-ordered, and I've worn one ever since. Oura is an awesome company. They really help understand through their reports that they send what's going on. It's just really aesthetically pleasing too, and their customer service is great. I've had ones where the battery would go out fast. After a couple of years of using it, I would email them and they would send me a new one right away. Like they're amazing. I can't talk enough about them. I know other trackers that work really well. The iWatch tends to do well on a lot of things. The Garmin, even the MyPolar straps, like I wear the MyZone strap, that one works really well. But you're only as accurate with your data as you are with wearing your tracker, right? So if it's on your wrist or on your chest, and you take it on and off all the time, then the data is going to only be as good as how consistent you are with wearing it. So for me, the ring is on all the time. Like I literally never take it off, except for to charge it. So that is going to be better data in my opinion. So that's why I really like the ring. But my ring, it measures sleep quality, resting heart rate, HRV, and recovery score. So it has my whole dashboard right on it. So when you start tracking these numbers consistently, you begin to see those patterns. When you start using these trackers, remember, they have error. There's a lot of error in these trackers, like more than you would think. Think of how much error you think those trackers are and multiply that by 2. It's a lot of error. However, they're consistent. They are pretty consistent. So you can see trends over time. So while I wear mine for years and years and years, the first couple months that I wore it, I knew that I was still gathering data. So I didn't look at that data as anything special. But the more you wear it, and over time, the longer the trend lines, the more you can see differences and changes over time. So just know that when you do start tracking, if you use any kind of tracker, don't take the actual number to heart, but do look at consistently using your tracker, but also the changes in time or the changes in your trend. And that can be a really, really good way to test where you're at. For example, I've noticed certain habits improve my scores dramatically. Like going to bed earlier helps increase my recovery or my readiness. Sauna sessions, they kind of affect me like workouts, which is really, really cool. Consistent bedtime routines have a huge effect on whether I get a higher sleep score. Things like how breath work, meditation, those kind of things that I do before sleep help my sleep. And I've also noticed things like that tank my scores, the late night meals, the alcohol, the poor sleep consistency, waking up all over the week, whether I wake up at 7:30 this day or 4:30 this day, and it's just all over the place. You could see how high stress days, even when you're not highly physical or active, the high stress days can really affect you negatively and still require you to recover. So when you see that data in front of you every morning, it really does become like a game. You start experimenting with your own habits to see what improves your score, or how can I get better scores tomorrow? You become curious about your own biology, and that's really powerful because you stop guessing at what's going on and you start learning how your body actually works. So that was kind of a detour with the Oura Ring, but you can use any trackers. Stat number 3 is heart rate variability. Moving on to stat number 4 of 5 are stress load. So this one's a little bit more abstract. Stress load, another important stat that we should have on our dashboard. When most people hear the word stress, they really think of it as mental or emotional stress. But the body experiences stress in many forms too. Hard workouts, lack of sleep, poor nutrition, things like pressure at work or family responsibilities, of course. All of these things can add up to something that scientists call the allostatic load. The allostatic load, which is the cumulative wear and tear on the body from chronic stress. When stress stays elevated for long periods of time, hormones like cortisol remain elevated, and that can cause some problems when it comes to storing and losing body fat. Not that cortisol is inherently bad. There's a lot of good things that cortisol does, like it gets us up in the morning. Really important to have cortisol to actually just live our lives, but just chronically elevated periods of stress can increase the hormone cortisol at wrong times or more than it needs to be for too long. And that chronically elevated cortisol has been linked to things like fat storage around the abdomen, for sure sleep disruption, immune system suppression. So your immunity is suppressed and it doesn't fight off bacteria or viruses as well. And then, of course, reduce recovery when it comes to physical things like training. This doesn't mean that all stress is bad, of course. We know that all stress is not bad. Stress is necessary for growth. We know that, but it's all about the dose, and it's all about how much time do we allow ourselves to recover to optimally be ready for the next bout of stress. The key here is to balance stress with recovery. So you want to induce a stimulus. That is the stress. From there, you will recover from that stimulus. And hopefully, if you give it the building blocks that it needs to recover, it can even go past where baseline was. Super compensation is what it's called. So those are always things that we need to think about when it comes to our stress load. Just like training, you're going to stress your system and you're going to allow it to rebuild stronger over time, but you have to give it the ability to do that. So a stat that we would want on our heads up display is for our stress load. And then stat number 5 is our energy and our readiness. The final stat on our dashboard is also a little more subjective, but it is so incredibly valuable. Like, how ready do you feel today? You wake up in the morning and you ask yourself, how ready do you feel today? Elite athletes constantly have to assess this. How's my energy? How sore am I? How motivated do I feel? How well did I sleep? These signals help determine whether today is a day to push or a day to recover. And many wearables, the devices now, they combine these signals into something that's called a readiness score. So the Oura Ring has a readiness score. But even without technology, you can start paying attention to these cues. Your body is constantly sending you signals, things like fatigue. What is my energy? My mood? My focus? The more you learn to listen to those signals, the better decisions you're going to make. So the big idea here is, if we zoom all the way out for a moment, the goal of tracking these stats is not to obsess over numbers. The goal is just awareness. Think about a pilot flying an airplane. The pilot doesn't stare out the window and hope for the best. The pilot looks and monitors their instruments, their altitude, their speed, their fuel, their navigation, because those instruments help them make better decisions. And your health dashboard is going to work the same way. Sleep, recovery, heart rate, stress, energy. These are the 5 signals that help you navigate your health. So let me ask you something right here. If your body really had a dashboard like a video game, if you just looked at your life right now, what would your stats look like? Would your sleep bar be full or flashing red? Is your stress meter maxed out or is it balanced? Is your energy bar running low? Just take a second to consider. And then once you have, here's your small challenge for this week. Here's your Wellness Wednesday quest. Pick one stat from your health dashboard and start tracking it for the next 7 days. If you already track something, then move on to the next. If you already track all 5, you are absolutely killing it. Comment or send me a message. What else would you add to your dashboard? Or what else have you added to your dashboard? But pick one and start tracking it for the next 7 days. It could be sleep hours. It could be steps. It could be resting heart rate, stress level, or simply just a daily energy score from 1 to 10. But don't try to track everything yet. Remember, level 1. Start at level 1. Just start playing the easiest thing that will allow you to get going. Just start paying attention, because awareness is the first step to improvement. And in video games, ignoring your dashboard gets your character eliminated pretty quickly. In real life, ignoring your body's signals slowly drains your energy, performance, and longevity, and eventually your health span. But when you start paying attention, you begin learning how your body works. You begin making better choices, and over time, you become a better player, a higher level character. This week, we've been exploring the idea of living your life like a video game. On Monday, it was about starting at level 1. Tuesday, about earning experience points and gamifying your fitness. And today, we talked about monitoring your dashboard. Coming up next on Fuel Up Friday, we're going to talk about something every character needs to perform well, and that's your fuel. How nutrition acts like power-ups, buffs, and debuffs for your body. So make sure you tune in for that. Until then, Dream Team, pay attention to your dashboard and keep earning those experience points. And that's it, my friends. Thank you so much for joining me on this Wellness Wednesday episode of the Living the Dream podcast. Please share the knowledge that you gain with your friends and family and hold each other accountable. If this episode inspired you, share it with a friend who could benefit from what we talked about today. To support this podcast and help it grow, please subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to this podcast on. And maybe leave a review telling others how this podcast benefited you. And leave that comment letting us know what's on your health dashboard. This will be a real non-cost way to help get this important wellness content into more people's ears, and we really appreciate it. Tag me at livingthedream_podcast or at CoachDamien_SD, and let us know how this episode benefited you. Let us know what we missed. Let us know what we got wrong. We want to know. Message us if you have any suggestions or tips that would help your Living the Dream team that we could discuss in future episodes. I will be right here with you, working on making us stronger, happier, and healthier humans. Until next time, friends, keep living the dream.